this violence as a tools, you know. And in 2017, all right, fine, he won again. And then the election board had disqualified a third candidate, Diana Rigara, and I think this made a lot of headlines ahead of the vote for allegedly failing to meet the necessary requirements to run for office. So, you know, Paul Kagame has to go through, the government has to go through your records and see if you, and then it decides if you qualify to be a candidate in the race. That is how the democracy in Rwanda works. So long before Rwandans went to the polls, the outcome in Kagame's favor, that is the 2017 election, was seen as, it was already sealed as critics, accused the president of undermining free election process, and candidates were barred from putting campaign posters in most public places. So if you are an opposition candidate, you are not allowed to put your election material, your campaign materials anywhere in public place. That was barred. So there's no way for these people to sell themselves. And then you can imagine even the media in Rwanda is government controlled. So the opposition candidates don't have the latitude and they don't enjoy the same privilege like President Paul Kagame has as the head of state, because they already know him. You know, but for the opposition, he does not allow them to do all these things. Okay, he does not allow them to do all these things. And so the candidates were barred, from putting campaign posters in most public places, and the Electoral Commission had to vet the candidates' campaign messages, warning that their social media accounts could be blocked otherwise. So you couldn't criticize even the government's performance. You couldn't. So the Electoral Commission had to go through your slogans and everything. And I do understand messaging and campaign messaging. I would understand how it could be a touchy issue as far as Rwanda is concerned, if you could just revisit the history of the Rwandan genocide. And we know the media played a big role as far as fueling that war, the genocide in Rwanda. And we know one of the people there, what is his name? I think they arrested him in France. Was it in France or Belgium? In France. Yeah, they arrested him, and he owned one of the leading, I think, a radio station or something in Rwanda, and that was being used to, to play or to air hate speeches that incited Rwandese against each other. And so I do get that aspect, but come on. The commission had to vet campaign messages. Of course, anything that criticized the government performance, that was not allowed. Anything that could, paint President Paul Kagame, as not being what the people of Rwanda thinks he is, was not allowed. So what kind of campaign is that? You know, we've seen how campaigns work, and the candidates will take on each other's record, will take on each other's public service, will take on each other's things that they've done or they have not done. That is how you win, political campaigns. Half of it is just propaganda. But, that is not allowed in Rwanda. So the aftermath of the election, the United States Department issued a statement saying it is disturbed by irregularities observed during that voting. So there were a lot of irregularities that it is assumed favored, President Paul Kagame. And Kagame became our country's de facto leader after his Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF rebels halted the 1994 genocide that saw an estimated 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus killed at the hands of Hutu extremists. Lawmakers formally appointed Kagame president in 2000 before he was elected by voters for the first time in 2003 in an overwhelming majority. In 2015, 98% of Rwandese approved a constitutional reform enabling Kagame to compete for a third term in office. He even changed the constitution. Under the measure, Kagame could stay in power until 2034 if he continues to be elected. See? And the way he's been winning these elections by 99%, obviously he's there to stay. And then come 2034, he might just change the constitution again, right? I don't know. He might choose to do that. So I'm saying all this to say that President Paul Kagame of Rwanda should not be the person telling President Felix Tshisekedi, or accusing President Tshisekedi of not wanting to have elections next year. He's not the one to advise on matters elections and how to have democratic elections and free spaces and respect the people's will. He's not qualified for that, because we see what has happened, and like I've just taken you through the elections there in Rwanda and how much he's been winning, and Trump would say he's been winning bigly by over 90%. It's only him and that other president, the longest serving head of state, Obiang of Equatorial Guinea, who stay this much in power. And another issue that President Paul Kagame brought up in his speech yesterday was, let me just read that. He said that when the conflict resumed, he offered President Tshisekedi assistance to fight off some of the rebel groups, including the Forces for Democratic of Liberation of Rwanda, FDLR, which is said to be responsible for the 1994 genocide in Rwanda against the Tutsis, but the DRC leader declined. So I think this is where we have a problem. And for him to just come out and speak about it like this, so people will just start wondering, so you offered help to help him fight, and then he refused. And now what happened? So who is equipping M23? All right? Why are they fighting? Because one of the conditions that Paul Kagame gave was that, I can help you fight these rebels, the M23, that have been accused of being backed by Rwanda. But as we fight M23, we must fight the FDLR at the same time. Explain to me how that works, because the Democratic Republic of Congo's government has been accused also of supporting this FDLR that is fighting the M23, and FDLR is made up of the majority Hutus who are accused of having participated in the Rwandan genocide. So Kagame saying that, they would fight both. I don't know how that was supposed to happen, but President Felix Tshisekedi refused, and even he's refused to have this rebel group on the table, even during these negotiations that are taking place. And so I think that is the point that now this mediation team needs to really focus on. This offer that was given to President Felix Tshisekedi, and he declined. And then what happened after that? What happened? I think that is that if they kept digging through that point, I'm not saying President Kagame was admitting anything, but I think that statement is very weighty, and a lot of things have been said in regards to that statement. So since the president came out himself to say it, so I think the mediators should pick it up and say, okay, so what is going on? So when the offer was given and then it was denied, then what happened? And how can we move on from here? And perhaps just there, they can find a solution, and we can see how this matter can be solved, among other things that needs to be done. So former President of Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta, has implored on Congolese citizens meeting with him in Nairobi for the third inter-Congolese dialogue this week to embrace forgiveness as the search for lasting peace in the eastern parts of the country continues. Mr. Kenyatta is leading the East African community-led Nairobi peace process talks that have brought together the armed groups, the civil society groups, the women and youth survivors of the conflict, and government representatives led by Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi's special envoy, Serge Shibangu. The groups are represented in Nairobi by about 350 participants, and over 50 of whom represent armed groups fighting in eastern DRC. So the meeting is currently undergoing, and President Uhuru Kenyatta is just trying to preach to them about the importance of being your brother's keeper. You are all from the same country. You are all the same people. Why are you fighting? Why are you killing each other? So he's been meeting with the the rebel groups and other interest groups, like I have mentioned there. And so we're waiting to see the end of that mediation process. President Uhuru Kenyatta has been doing a lot, and we're seeing slowly there has been some, there has been some good progress being made, but still a lot need to be done. So Paul Kagame said a lot, and it's interesting that he chose to say whatever he said, especially at this time. So have a talk with President Paul Kagame, mediation team. Just have a good talk. Probably he'll be able to open up more. And I don't know, through what he said yesterday, we're able to just take a glimpse on Rwanda's position about this conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.